Hey, it's Big Ed. We're talking gear today. I've gotten so many texts, emails, and messages on Facebook from people I know, friends, or just people who have seen my other videos about Dumble pedals. Will I be getting the new Universal Audio, the Enigmatic 82? All right, so quickly, no. I won't be getting it. And here's why. I have nothing against what Universal Audio is attempting to do with all of these pedals. They all sound fine, from the amp in a box pedals to the compressors to the delay. I have the delay, the tape delay. It's great. But there's a couple of issues for me. First of all, they're digital. They're not analog drive-through, or at least that's not my understanding. And so therefore, you can't do natural feedback because there's at least 10 milliseconds of latency, as with any device like this. So that's a non-starter for me. And I talked to a bunch of my friends who have had Dumbles or played Dumbles, and they all agree that that's not for them. So that's a big issue, but it's not a deal killer for many of you. Like, how does it sound? Well, I listened to over 10 different demos online. And the reason I listened to that many is because I wanted to make an informed decision, just like you all probably when you're buying something, right? I mean, some of us go, oh yeah, that's new and cool, and grab it. But in a case like this, I have to check it out because I've tried practically, if not every Dumble pedal on the market. The big thing is it doesn't have that openness. And what I mean by openness, it's a responsiveness that the best Dumble pedals have, that all of the Dumbles have. And let's start out by saying, again, let's reiterate, every Dumble amp was made individually, one at a time, for each client. So they're never the same, exactly the same. They're just not. So you have to decide, well, what sound do I want? If you want Robin Ford's sound, well, you can probably achieve that. If you want Lowell George's sound, you could achieve that, or David Lindley's sound. And then there's eras. The 70s era Dumbles sound differently than the 80s and the 90s. So I'm a 70s era fan. I like some of the 80s era, but I'm generally a 70s era fan. What they all have in common, however, is an openness, and not like a brightness. It's not a brightness, it's an openness on the top. They breathe on the top. More importantly, it's the responsiveness. Every Dumble player I've ever talked to says the same thing. Oh man, it's the responsiveness to the note, right? That is a big deal if you're really into Dumble pedals and not just buying one because they're emulating an amp you've heard of, like a Dumble. So openness, responsiveness, not overly bright open, and it's not presence. That's not what we're talking about here. Also, a very, very important thing is bloom, how the note blooms in that openness. And the best Dumble pedals, and there are only a handful of them, as we've discussed here before, have that bloom. And none of them are going to be as good as a Dumble amp ever anyway. But there are a few of the Dumble pedals that do have that bloom to varying effects, and they have that openness, and they have that responsiveness. This one, the Enigmatic 82, does not sound that way to me. Now, is that a bad thing? No, it's not a bad thing. The pedal sounds cool. It sounds like a really cool overdrive if that's the specific sound you're going for. So if you hear something in the demos that you respond to, then grab it. By all means, it sounds like a really good overdrive, but it doesn't sound like any Dumble I've ever heard, and it doesn't sound like the best Dumble pedals that I've played. So that's my 2 cents on the subject. I will not be getting one, but I will not tell somebody not to get one. And again, always buy from a retailer with a healthy return policy so that you don't get stuck with it. Okay, cool. So I'm here if you have any questions. Love to talk to you. Thanks for watching.